Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar where we're going to explore how organizations are bridging strategy and execution, streamlining processes, and delivering measurable ROI. Today's session is going to demonstrate how organizations move from transformation blueprints to real business impact faster and with greater clarity. You'll hear directly from two experts at SAP who work every day to make transformation tangible and effective. First, we're joined by Nadine Cortez, Product Associate for Business Transformation Management Enablement. Nadine specializes in data-driven business transformation within SAP's Global Content Group, and her work focuses on accelerating technology adoption and guiding customers in turning process intelligence into action. I'm also excited to welcome Melina Brenner, Content and Enablement Expert at SAP. Melina's expertise lies in simplifying complexity and enabling both internal stakeholders and partners through strategic, high-impact content. Thank you both for joining us, and with that, let's get started.
Thank you so much for the introduction, and also a super warm welcome from our side. So thanks for having us. It's great to be here and connect with this audience of professionals. So the goal of this session today is from our side to show you that business transformation, especially the one including digital change, does not have to feel complex, uncertain, or risky. Especially in an era where transformation can become the new constant, we really want to show you that there's a lot of guidance out there from SAP, different formats and for different needs to support you end-to-end through your transformation projects. The way we want to get you there today, looking at the agenda, is first we want to set the scene with general facts and figures about business transformation management and why it's such an essential competence and driver of organizational success these days. Then we want to give you an overview on which help SAP offers in terms of guidance, what we call business content accelerators. And we're going to show you how this comes to life in the tools they reside in. So mostly Signavio and LeanIX today. And of course, we also have reserved some time for next steps, where to find more, and of course, also time for your questions. So let's get right into it. Before I start into the focus topic, I first want to take a step back and talk about the reality everyone in this virtual room is probably facing. We're in an era of perpetual transformation. There's pressures coming really from all sides. So there's intense market volatility and unpredictable supply chains. There's an incredible pace of technological disruption with things like AI, and of course, an ever-increasing expectations from our customers, our employees, and even regulators. So the bottom line with this is the question is no longer if your organization needs to transform, but how you can master this to not just survive, but really thrive through this. And we've kind of established that constant transformation is the new reality, right? But executing transformation successfully is often a fundamental challenge I'm sure many of you have experienced. Often there's a disconnect between the process world and the IT world that are both at the center of transformation. The process world is really where experts analyze and design how businesses should operate. So it's about the process models, business requirements, and strategic intent. So it's all about the vision of how we want our business to run. On the other side, there's the realized IT world, and this isn't just technology for its own sake. It's connected application landscapes where your processes come to life and where business value is, or maybe sometimes isn't delivered. So this is how your business actually runs today. And the thing is, there is a challenge between these two where transformation efforts might fail. So maybe a brilliant process design gets thrown over the wall to IT, and then requirements are lost in translation, and final implementation doesn't really match the business intent. And this is precisely where business transformation management becomes indispensable. It's really the bridge between the process world and the IT world. So you could say business transformation is a systematic approach that's needed to manage significant change by aligning strategic goals directly with your technology initiatives, optimizing processes before you invest millions in implementing them, and also integrating your technology so they work together seamlessly. So business transformation management helps you steer technology-driven business change, but as we just heard, it also demands a lot in doing so. And this isn't just our perspective. Our hosts here at APQC recently surveyed organizations about this very topic, so about the top challenges faced when implementing digital solutions. And the number one challenge cited by over a third of respondents here is a lack of process documentation and standardization. And this is really the foundation of your transformation. Without a clear map of your current processes, you're kind of building on quicksand. But there's more. So there's a cluster of challenges around implementation costs and integration challenges. These are the core of the technical execution. So some organizations struggle to make the technology actually work together and deliver on the business requirements without budgets spiraling out of control. Then there's a lack of guiding strategy and competition for prioritization. And this is kind of the business transformation management pillar of strategy. So transformation efforts become disconnected from business goals, and then different projects end up fighting each other for resources. And lastly, there's also adoption. So maybe you've implemented a new system, it's up and running, but nobody knows how to effectively use it now it's here. So what we see from this is transformation doesn't fail because of one single thing. It fails when these core pillars of business transformation management, so processes, strategy, execution, and adoption, are weak. And today we want to show you how SAP Business Content Accelerators are specifically designed to solve these problems. We will address how they provide the process landscape foundation you're missing, all the way down to the detailed process models, the guiding strategic recommendations and directions you need derived from real data-driven insights, and the technological accelerators to streamline execution and drive adoption. So all of this allows you to build your transformation bridge fast, smart, and with far more certainty. So let's take a closer look at how we realize this with the so-called business content accelerators and how they support business transformation management. SAP has a unique position when it comes to knowledge. So over the past decades with our partners, we've built an extensive expertise around business processes, enterprise architecture, and end-to-end transformation, both on the business side from supporting various customer projects, but also being an IT company on the technical side. And all of this expertise is going into business content and accelerators. Business content here refers to artifacts that contextualize knowledge. So they bring structured knowledge tied to real goals like cost reduction, industry-specific use cases, or transformation priorities. It really helps you to understand what matters in a transformation and why. This could, for example, be a process model that shows you best practices for how to best execute a process in alignment with a specific IT system. Or it could be a reference architecture that maps out the entire process landscape. So these help define the direction of a transformation. And then on the other hand, there are accelerators, and these are about execution. So here we're talking about technical, really deployable components that help you implement faster, more efficiently, and with less risk. This could, for example, be integration content or automation content. And we differentiate between these two because together they form a very powerful combination. So business content gives you the direction, and then the accelerators make that direction actionable. But since this is still a little bit abstract, maybe let's look at a more concrete example. Here, let's look at our enterprise architecture content. Enterprise architecture is a really central part of the content because it's driven from the business perspective and spanning towards the IT side and solution perspective. And this is highly relevant no matter if you come from the process or the IT side, because this is where they both connect. And SAP provides a reference architecture as an orientation. It's based on the SAP Enterprise Architecture methodology, which itself is inspired by recognized standards such as the APQC process classification framework, BPMN, etc. And we use these standards as a foundation and then enhanced it with our own contribution from SAP teams, partners, and central customers. It mainly consists of two pillars, as you can see here. So there's the business architecture model here shown on the left, and the corresponding solution architecture models on the right. The business architecture models describe the business in a product-agnostic way in two ways: capabilities and processes. In short, the capabilities are about what the business does, and the process models how it gets done. And for the process models, for example, we link these to the FAQC process classification framework on an activity level, so you don't have to choose between frameworks, but yeah, they're actually mapped here. Our business models span all major business domains, and they are being extended to support various industries. And then the solution architecture models come in and mirror this business architecture. So they take the perspective of software products at SAP and recommend solutions that can support the capabilities and processes. So they help you answer questions like, which IT application supports the most critical steps in my business process? Are they running well, or maybe are they outdated? Which application or AI feature could fulfill my business requirements for a certain business capability? So yeah, this is already possible through the link between the business and the IT side. This content is made available via two key tools. So SAP Signavio on the one side, focusing on the process-centric view, and then LeanIX for the architecture side on the capability view. Both are tightly integrated to bridge IT and business. And Melina now will show you more how they are infused with content and how they work together to support transformation end to end. So over to you, Melina.
Thank you, Nadine. And we're already in the middle of our talk, but still also a warm welcome from my side, of course. And now let's look at business content and accelerators in action. Nadine has given you a first overview of business content and accelerators. You've heard about what they are, what purpose they serve, and with the SAP reference architecture, you also have seen a first example of our business content at SAP. And now we're gonna go into more depth on this topic. So what you've also learned about business content and accelerators is the fact that this is not a standalone offering. Business content and accelerators are used within SAP solutions like SAP Signavio and SAP LeanIX, which are part of SAP's tool chain for business transformation. And as we're focusing on business transformation and content in the context of transformation, we also have to focus on these two solutions in combination with content. And so let's look a little more closely at Signavio and LeanIX. And towards the end, I'm also going to introduce a third tool that we can leverage for transformation that is also part of this tool chain that Signavio and LeanIX are part of. It's just a rather new acquisition of SAP, and so it is not as far along in the portfolio as Signavio and LeanIX are. But let's start with Signavio and LeanIX first. So Signavio and LeanIX have different kinds of purposes, different kinds of focus areas. Signavio covers the business process management side, and LeanIX covers the enterprise architecture management side. And those two tools, processes and solutions, they work hand in hand, Signavio and LeanIX, as they are both under the SAP umbrella. So to say, they are integrated with one another. They also share information with each other. And of course, that's especially crucial for this context, for this use case of a transformation, because information sharing, working on based on a single source of truth is very important for efficiency in such projects. Also, for Signavio and LeanIX, we have different kinds of business content available. And this business content, of course, it depends on the type of content that we provide, depends on the tool itself. And it also depends on the phase in the transformation that we're currently talking about and which task within the transformation we are currently performing. And regarding the work within a transformation with Signavio and LeanIX, we have a nice process diagram what this process looks like working with Signavio and LeanIX, and also where they work together, where they are connected. And you can see here on this slide the different phases within the transformation that are being performed using either Signavio or LeanIX. And in Signavio, as I said, this is the very typical classical process management process. And in LeanIX, we have the solution or enterprise architecture view. In Signavio, our typical process management process starts with analyzing our current process situation, our current as-is situation. And based on this current situation, when we're doing a business transformation, we analyze this, we identify improvement opportunities, and then we're going, in the next step, we're going over to designing and modeling our target processes, because through the transformation, we want to become better, we want to become more resilient. And so we try to identify everything that can be improved about our current situation so that we can do that better in the future. And this way we can then model and design our improved target processes. And then we will implement those processes in practice. And then we're going to run those processes, we're going to work with them. And at some point, the entire circle, the entire process starts again with another round of process analysis and process improvement and so on. I'm sure everybody is familiar with that endless loop, so to say. And then on the other hand, we also have to think about the fact that processes are always being executed using software solutions. And this is where LeanIX comes in. LeanIX is being used to have an overview of all the software solutions that you're working with in your company. And through the connect to Signavio, in LeanIX, we can see very clearly which process is being executed by which software solution. And in our transformation project, this is something that we will then connect to each other. That's where we have here arrows connecting these different phases to one another. And this is also what we're going to look at in practice now. So we want to know, as we're talking about business content in the context of transformation, we want to show you what types of business content we have available for the different phases of transformation and for the different, or at least the two solutions, Signavio and LeanIX. And we're starting very typically with our analysis process. And at SAP, we have two different tools for process analysis in SAP Signavio. Of course, we have one process mining tool. However, for today, we chose to show you a different process analysis tool. It's actually a process analysis and process monitoring solution. And it has a lot of content, which I'm going to show you in a minute. The solution we're going to show you is called SAP Signavio Process Insights. And this system is connected to an SAP ERP system. So at the moment, we can only connect it to SAP ERPs. And in the ERP system, Process Insights collects predefined data sets. And this data is then being visualized within SAP Signavio Process Insights. And in Process Insights, we have pre-built and predefined analysis content with which we can then perform our as-is analysis as a basis for all the further steps in our transformation project. Let's dive into this analysis content and look at what different kinds of content we have available in here, because Process Insights is a quite powerful tool. So one very big part of this solution are so-called process flows that can be analyzed in Process Insights. And you also have a picture of a process flow here on this slide. And a process flow depicts a partial process, not an entire end-to-end process. That would be a bit too much information at once, but it is a partial process. I hope this is large enough for everyone to read. So this partial process, for example, is called supplier invoice issuing with purchase order to FIAP clearing. So it is a finance process, and the title of a process flow always tells you where in the end-to-end process, where the starting point is of a process and where the end point is. And then below on that screen, you have a lot of information about the process, a lot of information to analyze, also a lot of different colors. And you can analyze many different things with a process flow. So a process flow, for example, only looks at a certain time frame. And so in this case, it looks at a certain amount of supplier invoices that have been issued within a certain time frame. Usually it's about 6 weeks, but it varies depending on the process. And then you're able to see in this process flow how many documents, how many supplier invoices have been issued within that time frame, how many supplier invoices have reached the final step of this process, how many invoices have completed this process, so to say. And then, as you can see down here, there are a couple of I'm pointing with my cursor, which you can probably not see. So in the screenshot, more towards the bottom, you have these different tiles that are also colored. And these tiles provide even more information about the process, and they can show, for example, things that pose delays or obstacles or other kinds of inefficiencies within the process. And this is the analysis content available for process flows. It's really a lot. You're also able to apply filters to this process flow. And for example, look at only a certain type of document, or maybe you only want to analyze the data for a certain company code. And these are also filter types that you could then apply to the data set to be able to perform even more targeted analyses for this data. Process flows are not the only thing that we can analyze using Process Insights. So the next piece of analysis content are so-called performance indicators, or KPIs in short. And these KPIs are actually separate from the process flows. So they show different kinds of data. So we don't have duplicates here. That's an actual addition to the process flow content. And performance indicators show figures like backlog, throughput, or also automation rates. And these are also very interesting performance indicators in the context of a transformation project. For example, at SAP, when we talk about transformation projects, of course, the move to a new ERP system is our most crucial, most important use case here. And if you're moving to a new ERP system, then you, of course, would not like to transfer an old backlog of documents that you do not need anymore. You do not want to transfer that to your new system. So this is what backlog performance indicators, for example, can show you when you have a lot of old data that has accumulated in your ERP system and you want to clean that out. You can see that in the performance indicators. Also with automation rates, you can assess the current status on automation for your processes, and you can decide whether in some cases maybe you can take it as your goal to increase your automation for future processes. Also, for the performance indicators, we can apply different filters, and we're also able to show trends, which means we are able to look at the development of the performance indicator, how it evolved over time, and we can see, for example, if a backlog has just been getting bigger and bigger, and now it's really time to clean up old documents here, or if the situation has actually gotten better and you are able to see that your current processes are actually working and have a positive impact on the overall situation in your system. Last but not least, we do not only show you issues or let you discover issues about your processes with process insights, but we also provide, or at least propose, solutions to the issues that process insights might uncover in an ERP system. And for this, we have the correction recommendations within process insights. So as the name indicates, correction recommendations are proposals for how to resolve issues within your processes. And process insights is able to detect a large number of potential issues, for example, missing master data or missing customizing in the ERP system. These are things that process insights can detect quite quickly, and then we make you aware, or the tool makes you aware of the issue, and it even provides a solution proposal for the issue. And we also have step-by-step instructions on how to on how to deal with the issue and how to resolve it directly in the ERP system, so that you can just take these recommendations like a to-do list and go through them one by one and directly apply any changes and any improvements in your system. So I hope that this quick overview of this powerful tool, Process Insights, showed you how Signavio enables you to perform a structured process analysis as a transformation starting point. And once we have performed our process analysis, once we have an overview of our current as-is situation, issues that we would maybe like to improve or fix in the future, then it is time to start thinking about the future in your transformation project, in your work with processes. And this takes us to the next step in the transformation project. And for this step, we're staying within SAP Signavio, and we are going to talk about performing process design and modeling activities. And as I said, we already know now through process analysis about our current situation, and we're now going to start modeling our target process architecture. But of course, we do not want this to be a mountain of work that seems to never end. And this is again where business content comes into play, because our business content for SAP Signavio makes sure that you do not have to start from scratch when it comes to process design and modeling. Because SAP Signavio provides a lot of different process models and templates that you can use as a blueprint for your design and modeling activities. And before we actually start designing and modeling processes, we first have to, of course, or you, of course, have to first check out which kind of process models, which kind of templates you would like to use as a blueprint and as a starting point, because of course, there's a variety of templates to choose from. We do not only have one. And this is why this process of design and modeling starts with exploration. It starts with exploring the different options, the different templates that we have. And for this, we have two different tools. Now, the first tool is called our SAP Signavio Process Explorer, that is accessible through SAP Signavio. And we also have the transformation domain, as we're talking about transformation projects, the transformation domain on Business Accelerator Hub. Now, unfortunately, I cannot directly demo these two solutions right now, or these two tools right now. They're not actual solutions. But the Process Explorer and the Transformation Domain are both publicly accessible. And so we have also put the links to these two tools into the slides. And after the session, when you have received the slides, feel free to access Process Explorer and Transformation Domain and browse through the content that is displayed there, browse through our offering around process models and templates to get a better understanding of what SAP offers here. And maybe you're even right at that point in your transformation project where this could actually be helpful to you to explore what kind of process models and templates SAP provides, and maybe you find something that's interesting for you and that you are actually able to use for your own project. So now let's jump ahead. Let's say we have already explored the process models and templates on Transformation Domain and Process Explorer, and we have decided on a certain set of process models that we would like to use as templates. Maybe we are a company in the utilities industry, and so we would like to focus on templates that are related to utilities content. Now, the next step for us would be to go to the SAP Signavio Value Accelerator library, because whereas Process Explorer and Transformation Domain are tools for content exploration. The Value Accelerator library within Signavio is our content consumption tool. This is where you are then actually able to download and import the process models and templates into your own SAP Signavio workspace. And the process models and templates are available in the Value Accelerator library through in the form of packages. And these packages are called value accelerators. So there's again the term accelerator, and we currently have more than 150 accelerator packages available in the Value Accelerator library. And so if you have specific process models in mind that you would like to use, then as it's already a lot of accelerators, you will have to use some kind of filter to find what you're looking for. For example, if I continue with the utilities example, we can filter by industry. We can enter utilities here. We could also look for certain end-to-end processes that we would like to focus on, etc. We even have not only SAP content in here, we also publish content for different SAP partners. And so you can also apply the publisher filter to look for content that's coming from outside of SAP, maybe from a partner that is specialized in the utilities industry, for example. And through the Value Accelerator library, it is very simple. You just look for the package that you would like to work with, the utilities package, for example, and you can very simply download and import this to your workspace, and then you would start working with this content in the SAP Signavio Process Manager, which is the process modeling tool of the SAP Signavio suite. I am not going to show this right now because we also need a little more time for LeanIX, but it is your typical process modeling tool where you can start working with these process models. They are, of course, stored in certain folders. You can go through all the different process models. You can focus on certain processes that are most important. You are able to edit and adapt processes, of course. You do not need to use SAP templates and process models to 100%. It is, of course, possible to adapt them based on your own processes, requirements, and other specific needs in your company. All right, then hopefully this tool, the Value Accelerator library, and the related business content, the SAP Value, the Signavio Value Accelerators, will help you speed up this process design and modeling activity. And now, if we go on to the next step, we have now completed our activities on the SAP Signavio side. And let's think back. We have SAP Signavio and processes on the one side, and on the other side, we have software solutions in our company that actually execute these business processes. And this takes us to LeanIX. And this next step would be defining the target architecture, the target solution architecture within a LeanIX using, once again, business content from SAP. But before we look at the business content part in LeanIX, I just wanted to give you a quick overview of LeanIX and the way LeanIX works and what kinds of elements LeanIX knows, because of course this is slightly different to Signavio and working with business processes. A nice overview of LeanIX and its different elements is provided by this LeanIX meta model. And once again, we have a lot of tiles and a lot of colors, but I'm not going to talk about all of them, no worries. And so one important part of LeanIX is, of course, the part in the middle where it says application, because LeanIX takes care of enterprise architecture management of software solutions, and the application is basically the software solution in LeanIX. And that's the reason why we have LeanIX, to save all our software solutions and all the information about software solutions within LeanIX under this application tab. But another important part of LeanIX is highlighted by this red box. And these are business capabilities and business context. They are important, especially if we think about the connection between LeanIX and Signavio, because as I said, these two solutions are integrated, they share information with one another. And in this case, a business capability is basically a task or an activity performed within a company that creates value. And the business context, on the other hand, is the process that executes this task or activity. And as I said, business context is a process that executes a task. And in what's called a business context in LeanIX is nothing else than a process coming from Signavio. And so this information about business context or about processes, that is where this integration between LeanIX and Signavio comes into play, because LeanIX receives all the information about business context from Signavio. And now we have the business context coming from Signavio, but now you might be asking, where do the business capabilities come from? Because the business capabilities in turn are then executed by a certain software solution or a certain application. So all of these elements are connected with one another. But back to the question, where do business capabilities come from? This is again where business content comes into play, because just like we provide process models and templates as business content in Signavio, we also have business capabilities. We provide these predefined business capabilities in the shape of the reference capability catalog in LeanIX. And here you can find all different kinds of business capabilities that any company could possibly need to perform. So you have a couple of examples down here: asset management, customer service, enterprise strategy, etc. All of these are business capabilities, tasks that companies perform, and you're once again able to filter for business capabilities related to certain industries, to certain end-to-end processes. We can also filter to different business capabilities and which SAP application is used to perform those. And also we have color coding. The blue business capabilities are already imported to our LeanIX workspace, and the white ones still have to be imported, or they are not needed or not used by a company working with LeanIX. And this is just as simple as importing process models into Signavio. You can just click on any one of the business capabilities and then import them to your workspace. And as a last step, because you might think that these different elements, the business context, the business capabilities, etc., they seem a bit isolated, but let me show you one last thing in LeanIX, which is called a fact sheet. And fact sheets are the places where information is stored within LeanIX, and part of that information that is stored in here, for example, we're now again looking at a business process or a business context in LeanIX, and in the middle of the screenshot you can see this visualization of different connections between different elements, and you can see that the business process is connected to one application, which is good to see because LeanIX is the tool for enterprise architecture management and solution management. So this is where we can see for the first time actually an application being connected to a process. And we can see the application is the SAP ERP system. And we also can see a connection between the process and two business capabilities. And of course, if we clicked on the business capability, then there would also be a connection to the application, to the ERP system. And this is the way how everything is interconnected. Of course, these diagrams that you can see in the middle of the screenshot, they can be much more complicated and much bigger than what is here, because enterprise architecture can get complicated, of course, at some point, with a lot of capabilities and a lot of solutions in large enterprises. So this was a long talk, a lot of input on business content in the context of transformation projects with Signavio and LeanIX. We've been talking about business processes and solutions, software solutions. One more crucial element for transformation projects that I'm only gonna briefly touch on is also the people involved in transformations, involved in transformation projects. They have to work with processes, they have to work with different software solutions, they have to suffer the consequences of a transformation project, so to say. But SAP also has you covered here. Our newest addition to our transformation toolchain is the solution WalkMe. And WalkMe takes care of the people in transformation projects, so to say. So with WalkMe, we do enablement and adoption. And also for WalkMe, there will be content available. We're still working on that. But WalkMe is then supposed to complement Signavio and LeanIX in these transformation projects with this people aspect, enabling people, having guided enablement sessions, guided product and solution tours, training people on how to use new software solutions, etc. This is what WalkMe will be doing very soon. All right, then with that, we are at the end of our presentation. And of course, you will receive the slides after the session to provide you with some further materials on business content and accelerators and all the different things that we have just presented today. Also, you will find the links to Transformation Domain and the Process Explorer in here. So you can do some exploring on your own and hopefully find something that will also be interesting for you and help you in your own project. And with that, maybe let's look at our Q&A.
Sure, we have, thank you for that presentation. We have quite a few questions coming in. So if we don't get to all of them during this session itself, we can coordinate on the back end to make sure everyone gets the answers to their questions. First question, when you were talking about the process analysis tool, someone asked, does this recommendation have any embedded Gen AI or is it standard based on previous documentation?
Super happy to take this question. So Process Insights really builds on expertise that we gathered in SAP. So this is really real expertise that we collect and document in there from really thousands of customer projects that we've supported as SAP. However, there's also in our Signavio lab space some Gen AI connections to Process Insights, and Signavio lab space is actually also accessible to our SAP customers or Signavio customers. And you're free to try these out, even though the features are still in beta. And here, there are some Gen AI features where you can get kind of recommendations and the mapping to the correction recommendations and the insights and process insights from any document that you upload there. So you're not relying only on the metrics that are already predefined in process insights, but you could, for example, also upload some report from your organization and then get a personalized, specialized mapping of your problems that are found in there to the correction recommendations and innovation recommendations we provide in process insights.
Great. And is the WalkMe part that you showed right at the end there, is that only for SAP or can you use that for any digital application?
WalkMe itself should be usable for any application, I think, because we have these templates, training templates, enablement templates in there, and they should be generic.
And now this person would be interested to learn if SAP has any accelerators or templates that can be used as guidance for writing personalized training materials, focusing on that business context. So descriptions of the business processes which wouldn't necessarily reside in Signavio natively, or would that also be within the Business Accelerator Hub?
So I'm not 100% sure what is meant with process descriptions. So the value accelerators contain process models like in BPMN format. And yeah, this is so there's nothing, let's say no verbal descriptions, or it's mostly the BPMN templates, and yeah, anything else is not in a value accelerator.
Okay, so we talked, or you guys mentioned a lot on the webinar today about using Signavio to review processes in an existing ERP. But can you talk a little bit about how organizations use it for a new implementation? And some of the follow-on questions are, can you design new processes in Signavio and then have that auto configure the actual system, or does it just act as the blueprint and system configuration needs to be done separately?
Okay. So if you go into the transformation domain, for example, there we are able, when we start exploring the business content for transformations, there we can choose between doing a new implementation and a system conversion, for example. So there we definitely have that this differentiation. There's there's no auto configure option for the actual system. There will still be some manual effort, but as we said, the blueprints, the process templates are really intended to be there as a starting point, and they also contain the SAP best practices. And so that's, of course, an ideal situation, but in this ideal situation, you wouldn't make too many changes to these best practice processes. We try to have our process models be as realistic as possible and as suitable as possible. Of course, small adjustments will always be necessary, but then that is the blueprint for the system configuration. But there will, of course, still be steps to be done in the actual ERP.
Great. Thank you for taking the time to answer those questions and the presentation today. I really appreciate you, and thank you for joining us. And then also for everyone that participated in the webinar today, we appreciate your time. As the speakers mentioned, we do have resources for you, and you will receive a copy of the slides and the webinar within a few days. So make sure you watch your inbox for that. Don't forget to let us know what you thought about the webinar today. A satisfaction survey should pop up here in just a minute. Visit our events page to learn more, as well as view webinars you might have missed on our on-demand page. Connect with us on social. That way you can be in the loop for upcoming events. We have an annual conference coming up next spring, so be sure to check that out. And of course, I want to thank you again to everyone that attended and spoke today, and I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the day.